In an instant, the world turned upside down. On the 78th floor, a blind man and his guide dog face the unthinkable. The ground shakes, the air burns, life or death decisions with every step. 1,463 stairs stand between them and salvation or catastrophe. As chaos reigns, an extraordinary partnership defies fate. Can they escape before everything collapses? A true story of courage, where trust becomes the last hope for survival.
Michael Hinkson woke up early that Tuesday in September, just as he did every day. Beside him, Roselle, his faithful Labrador guide dog, was already alert. The partnership between them went beyond the usual bond between a man and his dog. It was a symphony of trust and mutual understanding, perfected over nearly 2 years of working together. The morning routine unfolded normally. Michael prepared for work with the efficiency of someone who, despite being blind since birth, had developed precise methods for navigating the world. Roselle watched attentively, always ready to guide her human companion. Breakfast was quick, and soon they were on their way to work. The streets of New York were already pulsing with the city's characteristic energy when Michael and Roselle arrived at the World Trade Center. It was around 7:40 am. When they entered the elevator that would take them to the 78th floor of the North Tower. Michael was excited. The day promised to be busy, with several training seminars scheduled for his company, which specialized in data protection systems and network storage. While Michael occupied himself with the final preparations for the seminars, Roselle assumed her unofficial role as receptionist, warmly greeting everyone who entered the office. It was a routine they both enjoyed. Eventually, with everything organized, Roselle settled into her favorite spot under Michael's desk, resting her head on his foot. At that moment of tranquility, nothing indicated that this day would be any different from any other. The office buzzed with the normal activity of a Tuesday morning, with no forewarning of what was about to happen. Michael Hinkson had learned early on that blindness was not an obstacle, but rather a characteristic that made him unique. Born prematurely in 1950, he faced the challenge of blindness with unshakable determination. Over the years, Michael developed extraordinary skills, navigating the world with confidence and independence. His journey led him to become a successful sales executive, proving that visual impairment was no barrier to professional success. In 1999, Michael's life took on a new dimension with the arrival of Roselle. The Labrador Retriever, trained at guide dogs for the blind in San Rafael, California, was his 5th guide dog. From the beginning, it was clear that Roselle was special. She was not just a mobility aid. She was a partner, a friend, an extension of Michael himself. The rigorous training Roselle received prepared her to guide Michael with precision, keeping him safe in any situation. The partnership between Michael and Roselle went beyond work. Roselle had a unique personality that perfectly complemented Michael's. Described by him as a pixie, she knew how to balance work and play. In the office, she was the unofficial receptionist, cheerfully greeting everyone who entered. At home, she was a playful companion, always ready for a moment of relaxation. This duality made Roselle not just an efficient guide dog but a comforting presence in Michael's life. Their bond grew stronger with each passing day. Michael trusted Roselle implicitly, and she reciprocated that trust with unwavering loyalty. Together, they faced the daily challenges of New York City, from the hustle and bustle of the subway to navigating the corridors of the World Trade Center. Little did they know that this mutual trust would be tested in a way that no one could have predicted. As the clock ticked on that seemingly ordinary morning, fate was preparing a challenge that would test not just their partnership, but also the strength of the human and canine spirit. At 8:46 a.m., the peaceful routine of the office was abruptly interrupted. A deafening roar shook the building, followed by a violent tremor that made the 78th floor sway dangerously. Michael, who was talking with his colleague David Frank about the day's seminars, felt the ground move beneath his feet. Instinctively, he moved toward the doorway, recalling the safety procedures he had learned in California for earthquakes. Chaos quickly ensued. David, looking out the window, began to scream in panic. "Oh my God, Mike. There's fire and smoke above us. Millions of burning pieces of paper are falling outside our window. We have to get out of here. The building is on fire." The confusion and fear were palpable in David's voice and in the shouts of their other co-workers. Amid the turmoil, Michael noticed something remarkable. Roselle, who had been sleeping under his desk, had awakened but remained surprisingly calm. She stood up, wagged her tail, and yawned, as if to ask who had woken her up. Roselle's reaction was crucial for Michael. Although he couldn't see the chaos around him, his canine companion's calmness gave him valuable insight into the situation. Relying on Roselle's calm demeanor, Michael made a decision that would save many lives. He asked David to calm down, saying, "Slow down, David. Let's evacuate in an orderly fashion." While others panicked, Michael remained composed, trusting Roselle's behavior as an indicator that, despite the severity of the situation, there was time for an organized evacuation. This decision, based on the trust between man and dog, would be the first step in an extraordinary journey through one of the darkest moments in modern history. Roselle's calmness amid the chaos gave Michael the clarity needed to act prudently. While his colleagues ran in panic, he kept his composure and began organizing the evacuation. "David," Michael called out, "let's take our guests to the stairs first. Then, we'll come back to check if there's anyone else in the office." This methodical approach, inspired by Roselle's tranquility, set the tone for their entire descent. Michael knew that panic was as dangerous as any physical threat. He used his firm and calm voice to soothe others, while Roselle remained attentive by his side. "We don't know exactly what's happening," he explained to his colleagues, "but we need to leave in an orderly manner. Follow me and Roselle." His confidence was contagious, and gradually, people began to organize for the evacuation. Before leaving, Michael made a quick call to his wife, Karen. "There was an explosion or something in the building," he told her, keeping his voice controlled. "We're evacuating now. I'll call again as soon as I can." This brief communication was typical of Michael, practical and reassuring, even in the face of the unknown. After hanging up, he and David made a final sweep of the office, ensuring that no one was left behind. With all the preparations complete, it was time to face the descent of 78 floors. Michael adjusted Roselle's harness, feeling the dog's firm and confident body beside him. "Let's go, girl," he murmured, giving the command for her to lead him to the stairs. As they headed for the exit, Michael reflected on the countless evacuation drills he had practiced over the years. Now, that preparation would be tested in a way he could never have imagined. With Roselle leading the way, they took the first steps of a journey that would test not just their physical endurance, but also the strength of their spirit and the depth of their partnership. As they entered the stairwell, Michael and Roselle were immediately engulfed by chaos. The air was heavy, filled with tension and fear. People hurried down, some in silence, others murmuring prayers. Michael held firmly to Roselle's harness, trusting her to guide him through this unknown environment. With each step, he felt his canine companion's determination, her steady pace, an anchor of stability amid the uncertainty. During the first few flights of stairs, Michael noticed something strange. A familiar but out-of-context odor invaded his nostrils. Jet fuel, he thought, frowning. The realization hit him like a punch to the gut. This was no ordinary incident. The smell brought with it a new dimension of danger, one that Michael could not ignore. He shared his observation with the people around him, seeing the understanding spread across their worried faces. Despite the disturbing revelation, Michael remained focused on the task at hand. He began counting the steps. Not out of necessity, Roselle was perfectly capable of guiding him, but as a method to keep his mind occupied. 10 steps, turn, 9 more, he murmured to himself, creating a rhythm that helped him stay calm. This mental exercise not only soothed him, but also provided a sense of control amid the chaos. As they descended, Michael and Roselle encountered others evacuating. The presence of a blind man with his guide dog seemed to calm some of the more agitated individuals. "How are you both so calm?" a woman asked, her voice trembling with fear. Michael smiled gently, his hand stroking Roselle's fur. "We trust each other," he replied. "And if she's calm, I know we can handle this." His words, though simple, carried a weight of truth that resonated with everyone around him. The journey would be long and challenging, but Michael and Roselle were ready to face it together, one step at a time. As the descent continued, Roselle's exemplary behavior became increasingly evident. Despite the chaos around her, she maintained a steady pace, pausing briefly at the top and bottom of each flight of stairs. Michael, feeling his companion's unwavering confidence, conveyed that calmness to others. "Good girl, Roselle," he often murmured, his voice a beacon of tranquility amid the whirlwind of emotions surrounding them. The impact of the duo's serenity on the other evacuees was noticeable. People who moments before were on the verge of panic now moved with more purpose and calm. "If they can do this, so can we," Michael heard someone say. This observation filled him with a sense of responsibility. He realized that their journey was not just about their own survival, but also about inspiring hope in others. As they descended, Michael and Roselle faced unique challenges. The smell of smoke intensified, and the air grew hotter and thicker. Roselle, trained to handle distractions, remained unwaveringly focused. She guided Michael with precision, avoiding obstacles and helping him maintain his balance on the increasingly congested stairs. Their synchronization was a testament to the deep bond they had developed. In a particularly tense moment, when fear threatened to overwhelm the group, Michael decided to share his unique perspective. "You know," he said aloud, "sometimes not seeing can be an advantage. I'm not distracted by what I can't see. I'm focused only on the next step, the next breath." His words had a calming effect, reminding everyone that even in literal or metaphorical darkness, there was always a way forward. And so, step by step, Michael and Roselle continued their descent, a guiding light for everyone around them. As Michael and Roselle continued their descent, they encountered a series of people who left lasting impressions. On the 30th floor, they heard a strong voice shouting, "Firefighters coming up. Make way." Michael felt the people around him move aside, pressing themselves against the walls of the stairwell. The sound of heavy equipment and labored breathing grew louder as the firefighters approached. One of the firefighters stopped briefly when he saw Michael and Roselle. "Hey buddy. Are you okay?" he asked loudly, clearly concerned about the presence of a blind man in the stairwell. Michael, maintaining his composure, replied, "We're fine, thank you. We've got everything under control." The firefighter, still hesitant, insisted, "That's really cool. But we'll send someone to help you down." Michael smiled patiently, explaining, "I really don't need help. I have my guide Roselle here, and we've already made it down 48 floors without any problems." At this moment, Michael's colleague, David, who was a few steps below, intervened. "He's with me. It's okay. Let us continue." The firefighter, still reluctant, but recognizing the urgency of the situation, finally relented. Before continuing his ascent, he bent down to give Roselle a gentle pat, murmuring, "Good girl." This brief encounter highlighted not only the genuine concern of the first responders, but also the unique challenges Michael faced as a blind person in an emergency situation. As the firefighters continued their arduous climb, Michael reflected on their determination. "They're climbing to save lives, while we're descending to save ours," he thought. This realization brought a new perspective to his own journey. Inspired by the firefighters' courage, Michael renewed his commitment to stay calm and help others whenever possible during the descent. As Michael and Roselle moved forward in their descent, the challenges intensified. The air grew increasingly dense with smoke and dust, making it difficult to breathe. The heat gradually increased, causing sweat to run down Michael's face and Roselle's fur to become damp. Despite this, the Labrador maintained her steady pace, her determination unshaken by the adverse conditions. Fatigue began to weigh on everyone. Michael felt the weariness in his legs, but refused to slow down. He knew that each step brought them closer to safety. To keep spirits up, Michael began talking to the people around him, sharing stories and offering words of encouragement. "We're almost there," he would say, even though he had no idea how many floors remained. His calm and confident voice was a balm for the frayed nerves of the other evacuees. In a particularly difficult moment, when exhaustion threatened to overcome the group, Michael heard a trembling voice say, "I can't go on. We're not going to make it out of here." Immediately, he stopped. With Roselle firmly by his side, Michael reached out in the direction of the voice. "We can do this together," he said firmly. "Roselle and I came from the 78th floor. If we can do it, so can you." His words, reinforced by Roselle's calm presence, seemed to inject a new dose of courage into the group. As they continued their descent, Michael noticed a change in the behavior of the people around him. The initial fear gave way to a collective determination. Strangers began helping one another, offering water, emotional support, and even taking turns carrying those who were struggling. Michael realized that, amid adversity, he was witnessing the best of humanity. With Roselle leading the way, he felt part of something larger than himself. Community united by hope and the will to survive. The descent seemed endless, and exhaustion weighed on everyone. It was at this moment that alarming news spread through the stairwell. "I heard the other tower was hit too," someone whispered. The murmur of shock and fear rippled through the group like a wave. Michael felt the tension around him instantly increase. Even Roselle, always so calm, seemed to hesitate for a moment, sensing the change in the atmosphere. Michael knew this was a critical point. Panic could easily set in, making the evacuation even more dangerous. He took a deep breath, searching within himself for the strength to maintain his composure. "Everyone," he said loudly and clearly, "we don't know exactly what's happening out there, but we do know that our best chance is to keep descending together, calmly and determinedly." His words seemed to have an immediate calming effect. Michael realized that his blindness which many might see as a disadvantage, was actually helping to keep the group focused. He couldn't be distracted or frightened by visual images of the disaster. "Let's focus on what we can control," he continued. "One step at a time, one floor at a time. We're making progress." As the group regained their rhythm, Michael reflected on the incredible human resilience he was witnessing. People who had been strangers just hours before were now coming together, supporting and encouraging one another. He gently patted Roselle's head, grateful for her constant and reassuring presence. "Good girl," he murmured. "Let's keep going." And so, step by step, floor by floor, they persisted, united by the determination to survive and the hope of seeing daylight again. The synchronization between Michael and Roselle became increasingly evident as they descended. Every movement was calculated, every pause precisely timed. Michael, with years of experience in mobility as a blind person, trusted implicitly in the subtle signals Roselle gave him through the harness. When she hesitated, he knew there was an obstacle. When she sped up slightly, he understood that the path was clear. This silent dance between man and dog did not go unnoticed by those around them. Many watched in awe as Roselle guided Michael with such precision. Amid the chaos, "How does she know exactly what to do?" someone asked. Michael smiled, briefly explaining the intensive training that guide dogs receive. "But more than training," he added, "it's trust. We trust each other completely." As they descended, Michael and Roselle not only navigated for themselves, but also became a point of reference for others. People began to follow their steady pace, finding comfort in the calm that the duo exuded. In a particularly tense moment, when the group encountered a section of the stairwell obstructed by debris, it was Roselle who found the best way around, with Michael relaying the instructions to the others. With each floor they passed, Michael felt a mixture of relief and apprehension. They were closer to the exit, but the unknown still awaited them. He continued to offer words of encouragement, not just for the others, but also for himself and for Roselle. "We're almost there, gal," he murmured, feeling Roselle respond with a light wag of her tail against his leg. It was a constant reminder that they were not alone in this ordeal. Together, man and dog, they led the way not just for their own survival, but also inspiring hope in everyone around them. As Michael and Roselle neared the lower floors, a wave of anticipation began to spread through the group. "I think we're reaching the ground floor," someone exclaimed with a mix of relief and anxiety. Michael felt his heart race. After a descent that seemed endless, the promise of safety was finally within reach. Roselle, always attentive, began to show subtle signs of change in her behavior. Her pace quickened slightly, as if she too sensed the proximity of the exit. Michael, attuned to every movement of his companion, noticed the change. "We're almost there, everyone," he announced, his voice filled with hope. "Roselle is telling us we're close." As they approached the ground floor, the sounds around them began to change. The muffled echo of the stairwell gave way to louder, clearer voices. Michael could hear orders being shouted, the sound of heavy equipment, and what seemed like the organized chaos of a large-scale rescue operation. The reality of what awaited them outside began to set in. At this moment, a mix of emotions overwhelmed Michael. There was relief, of course, for having made it down so many floors safely. But there was also apprehension about what they would find when they finally exited the building. The fragmented news they had received during the descent painted a grim picture. Michael tightened his grip on Roselle's harness, seeking comfort in the constant presence of his faithful companion. Whatever we find out there, he thought, we'll face it together. With this renewed determination, they prepared for the final steps of their journey through the North Tower. Finally, Michael and Roselle reached the ground floor. The contrast with the relative quiet of the stairwell was shocking. Deafening sounds surrounded them. Wailing sirens, shouted commands, the rumble of heavy equipment, and the frenetic murmur of hundreds of voices. The smell of smoke and dust was more intense than ever, making Michael cough involuntarily. "This way," an authoritative voice shouted. Michael felt a hand on his shoulder, guiding him. "I'm with the FBI," the man said quickly. "I'll get you out of here." Michael hesitated for a moment, his hand tightening on Roselle's harness. "What's happening?" he asked, anxious for information. "No time to explain now," the agent replied, urgency in his voice. "We need to get as far away from the towers as possible." Following the FBI agent, with Roselle firmly by his side, Michael emerged into the open air. The heat of the sun contrasted strangely with the gravity of the situation. He could feel the agitation around him, hear the sounds of breaking glass and twisting metal. People were running in all directions, their voices a mixture of fear and confusion. As they moved away from the World Trade Center, Michael heard fragments of conversations that painted a terrible picture. Planes, terrorists, Pentagon. The loose words began to form an image of the unfolding horror. For the first time since the evacuation began, Michael felt the full weight of the situation. It wasn't just a fire or an accident. It was something much bigger and more terrifying than he could have imagined. With Roselle as his anchor, he kept moving, each step taking them farther from danger, but also deeper into a world that had changed forever. Michael, Roselle, and the group accompanying them had only moved a few blocks away when a terrifying sound cut through the air. It was a deafening roar, like nothing Michael had ever heard before. "Oh my God, the tower is falling," someone shouted. Panic spread instantly. "Run," ordered the FBI agent, his voice filled with urgency. With no time to think, Michael grabbed Roselle's harness tightly. "Let's go, girl," he commanded, and together they began to run. The chaos around them was palpable. Michael could hear people screaming, objects falling, the sound of frantic footsteps all around. The ground seemed to tremble beneath his feet, and a cloud of dust and debris quickly engulfed them. Amid the confusion, Michael focused on Roselle. She skillfully guided him, avoiding obstacles and other panicked people. Michael's trust in his companion was absolute. He couldn't see the danger, but he could feel it and hear it. Every step was a battle against fear and uncertainty, but Roselle's firm presence kept him moving. Suddenly, Roselle made a sharp right turn. Michael felt a change in the environment. We're entering some sort of structure. Roselle stopped abruptly, and Michael realized they were at the top of a staircase. Without hesitation, he gave the command for her to proceed. They descended the stairs and found themselves in a quieter, more protected space. It was the entrance to a subway station. There, sheltered from the dust cloud and the chaos in the streets, Michael embraced Roselle, grateful for her incredible guidance and courage. They had narrowly escaped, but the journey was not yet over. In the relative silence of the subway station, Michael finally had a moment to process what had happened. The adrenaline was beginning to wear off, leaving him exhausted and dazed. He could hear Roselle's heavy breathing and felt the tremor in his own body. The voices around them were a mix of shock, fear, and disbelief. "What happened up there?" someone asked in a low voice, as if fearing the answer. It was at that moment that Michael finally managed to contact his wife, Karen. With trembling hands, he dialed their home number. Karen's voice, filled with relief and concern, brought tears to his eyes. "Michael, thank God you're okay," she exclaimed. It was through her that Michael finally understood the full extent of what had happened. Terrorists had hijacked planes, hitting not only the Twin Towers, but also the Pentagon. A fourth plane was still missing. The reality of the situation hit him with full force. Michael hugged Roselle, seeking comfort in her constant presence. He thought of all those still in the buildings, the brave firefighters who had climbed up as they descended. The magnitude of the tragedy was almost incomprehensible. How can the world change so much in just a few hours? He wondered silently. As the hours passed, Michael and Roselle remained in the subway station, offering comfort and support to those around them. Stories were shared, tears shed, and small acts of kindness performed between strangers united by adversity. Michael realized that, although the world outside had changed forever, the human spirit of compassion and resilience remained unshaken. With Roselle by his side, he committed to telling their story, not just as a tale of survival, but as a testament to the power of the partnership between humans and animals, and the strength that can be found even in the darkest moments. In the days, weeks, and years that followed September 11th, Michael and Roselle's story became a symbol of hope and resilience. Their journey of 78 floors was not just an escape from tragedy, but a testament to the power of trust and partnership between humans and animals. Michael began sharing his experience, highlighting how Roselle's calm and determination were crucial to his survival. Roselle continued to be a faithful companion to Michael until her retirement in 2007. Having faced health issues, possibly related to the toxins inhaled during the attack. Even after retiring, she remained an essential part of Michael's life, a constant reminder of the extraordinary bond they had forged. Roselle's death in 2011 marked the end of an era, but her legacy lived on through Michael's stories and the impact they had on countless lives. Michael and Roselle's example inspired significant changes in how society views people with disabilities and service dogs. Their story challenged perceptions, showing that disability is not synonymous with inability. Michael became an active advocate for the rights of the disabled and the importance of guide dogs, using his experience to educate and inspire others. Reflecting on that fateful day, Michael often said, "Roselle saved me, and I saved Roselle. We were a team." This simple statement captured the essence of their journey of partnership based on mutual trust and deep understanding. Their legacy is not just a story of survival, but a powerful reminder of the strength that can be found when we trust one another, whether human or animal. Michael and Roselle's story continues to touch hearts, inspiring people to face their own challenges with courage and to value the special bonds we form with our animal companions.
This story is based on real events that occurred on September 11th, 2001. Michael Hinkson and his guide dog Roselle truly experienced the terrible tragedy of that day. Descending 78 floors of the North Tower of the World Trade Center and surviving the terrorist attack that changed the world forever. Although the central facts and essence of this narrative are true, some elements have been adapted or expanded to create a more engaging experience. Dialogues have been recreated, thoughts and emotions interpreted, and some scenes elaborated to provide a deeper understanding of the events of that fateful day. However, the core of the story, the incredible partnership between Michael and Roselle, Their courage and determination remains faithful to reality. In memory of all those affected by the events of September 11th, 2001, may we never forget, and may their stories continue to inspire future generations. May the courage shown that day inspire us to face our own challenges with determination and to value the bonds that unite us as human beings.